What's up, everybody? It's been almost a week since I made a video here. I had a friend visiting from out of town. I took some time offline, and I guess a lot happened in the last week because oil went from about $70 a barrel all the way up to close to $120 at the peak. Now it's down to about $86 a barrel. I will need to do a video here just talking about energy, talking about oil. As you probably know if you follow the channel, I am overweight energy in my portfolio, in particular upstream oil producers. I think there's many companies here that are underpriced in a $70 a barrel oil environment. If prices remain roughly where they are now, $80 to $90 a barrel of oil, then there are tons of opportunities in energy. So I think right now, when I'm looking at equity prices in oil producers, even though a lot of these stocks have gone up, they really haven't gone up enough to take into account, $85 oil. So to me, that says that the market is thinking that oil prices are going to come down. But we'll look at opportunities there in another video. This morning, a company that I own, Kohl's, they reported earnings. This is quite a large holding for me, so we're definitely going to take a look at it. In the pre-market, the stock was down to about $13 a share, roughly down 10%, and then it zoomed up to $17 a share. That's about a 30% intraday move. Then it's given back all the gains now, so effectively the stock is trading flat. Now, this is a large holding for me. I've talked about it on the channel before. I've owned Kohl's for almost a year at this point. At the peak, this was more than a triple for me. This was after their Q3 earnings. I made a video at the time saying that I was selling covered calls against my position. And while it's nice to pocket the premium on those calls, obviously with hindsight, I would have just liked to sell shares, but of course I don't have a crystal ball. We're down pretty significantly from this spike. The stock is still a big winner for me. Of course, if you zoom out more, 5 years, Kohl's is down enormously. They had buyout offers back here from private equity firms looking to take Kohl's private for $60-ish a share. They turned that down, and now today, Kohl's is trading for, just about $1.6 billion, 1.6, 1.7. So let's go through these earnings and let's see what we think about Kohl's stock today. As always, nothing in here is advice to buy or sell Kohl's or any other stock. I just give you my opinion and I tell you what I'm doing with my money. If you get value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to join my Discord or grab my Google Sheets template where you can analyze your own stocks, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. And perhaps before we look specifically at this quarter, I should just tell you why I'm invested in this company. Because this is not a great business. If you don't live in the US, maybe you aren't familiar with Kohl's. They're a large retailer. They have over 1,000 stores across the country. They're mostly in suburban areas. Almost all of them have a Sephora inside now as well. Foot traffic to these kinds of retailers has been declining. And indeed, for Kohl's, their revenue has been down. Their margins have been under pressure. Razor thin operating margins, right about 3% most recently. They also have some debt on the books. They have no moat, no competitive advantage. In general, it's very difficult to have a competitive advantage as a retailer. These companies are mostly competing on price, and it's a very competitive industry. So that all sounds horrible. Why would I own such a company? I own some other stocks in my portfolio that I don't think are quality businesses, but this does seem particularly bad. It's the kind of stock most investors would immediately say no to. And that's totally fine. I don't think that Kohl's will be a good fit for most investors. And certainly, I'm not trying to convince anyone to buy this stock. But for most businesses, I'm going to take into account all of their strengths and all of their faults, and I'm going to come up with some fair value for the company. If the stock is trading for much, much lower than I think is a reasonable estimate of fair value, like it was about a year ago when I was buying this, then I'm going to be interested. I'm going to want to take a look. Monish Pabrai, who is a fairly well-known value investor, he had a quote, which I looked for before starting recording this video. I couldn't exactly find the quote, but essentially he was saying, when you find a company trading for a 1x multiple, you need to look at it. You don't always need to buy, and whenever you find a stock that is so absurdly cheap, there are certainly going to be red flags, things going wrong with the business. But Kohl's generates a lot of cash. Almost all of their stores are cash flow positive. For retailers, I prefer to look at cash flow or, cash flow adjusted for changes in working capital or something like that. These companies have a ton of physical assets on their books. That's going to really increase the depreciation that they're taking. And depreciation, this is a non-cash expense. It affects earnings. It doesn't affect cash. But the idea is that your stores, your properties, they get older. They're going to require capital to upkeep, to maintain. Depreciation is intended to be an approximation of that maintenance value. However, often this accounting number, it can be actually fairly different than the value that you're going to spend to maintain your property. You might want to just look at CapEx or estimate what CapEx is going to be going forward. And with Kohl's, I thought I had a company that probably was going to have over $1 billion in operating cash flow, probably about $400 million in CapEx, and, therefore probably free cash flow that this business was going to generate. I figured maybe about $600 million for a year, and when I bought this stock, it was trading for not much more than a $600 million market cap. It was a hidden 1x multiple. Now, the story wasn't quite so simple as just that. There's several other things that you're going to want to look at for sure. But they also own outright a little over 400 of these store locations, about a dozen of their distribution centers. Even taking conservative estimates for the value of their property, I figured Kohl's could maybe liquidate for about 75% of their tangible book value. And at the time, they were trading for something like 20% of tangible book value. Right now, today, they're still trading for less than half of book. So that was a quick summary of my thesis. I saw a company that was still very cash flow positive, possibly could make its entire market cap in free cash flow in a year, sitting on assets that I thought were worth way more than they were being priced for. Now, with that backdrop, let's go through this report. Let's look at how they did this year. Let's see how much free cash flow they ended up making and what they did with it. In the quarter, comparable sales were down about 3%. That's basically in line with expectations. There also were a couple closures, so net sales were down closer to 4%. The good news, though, is they managed costs very well. Gross margin actually expanded by 25 basis points, and their operating expenses were down 5%. So expenses dropping more than top line means more operating income. Operating income for the quarter, over $200 million. And that might sound like a ton. You might think that annualizes to about $800 million a year, but keep in mind, for retailers like Kohl's, the fourth quarter over the holiday season, this is where they're making most of their money. For the full year, operating cash flow was $1.38 billion. Capital expenditures were only $370 million, so that leaves you with a little over $1 billion in free cash flow for the year for Kohl's. Remember, this stock is trading today for about $1.6 billion. And again, when I bought the stock back almost a year ago, I was thinking free cash flow for the year might be about $600 million. They really outperformed that. In spite of this being a boring business with contracting top line, they make a ton of cash. Now, with that said, this operating cash flow, it paints a rosier picture than what's actually going on. They had a little over $100 million come in from a legal settlement in the middle of the year. There's also $34 million in stock-based compensation. I'm not going to count that. And also, a lot of the improvement in cash flow came from simply managing working capital better. For example, their inventory. Inventory is down year over year. That's great. I like to see that in a retailer. But that's not something that I'm going to project forward for next year. Accounts payable went up. If simply based on the timing of when you're paying your vendors, if you're holding onto a little more cash, that can make the operating cash flow look good for this fiscal year. But again, it's not something that I'm going to project forward for next year. If essentially I'm just looking at the net income plus the depreciation minus the CapEx, then you're looking at about $600 million in what I'm just going to call adjusted free cash flow for this calendar year. I think if Kohl's manages their costs well, that would be an excellent result for 2026 as well, $600 million-ish in free cash flow. They're guiding for a flat to low single-digit decline in the top line, similar operating margins, pretty similar CapEx, $350 million to $400 million. But even still, if I pull my free cash flow estimates for this year back a little bit to, maybe about $550 million, then the stock today is trading for just 3 times that number. And this is without mentioning anything about the safety net of the asset value of the real estate that they have on their books, anything like that, just looking at the cash flow that we think the company can generate. And to see what they did with all this cash throughout the year, just compare the balance sheet today, which is this left column here, with what it was a year ago, which is the right column. They are now sitting on $670 million in cash. That is about 40% of the market cap that they simply have in cash in the bank. A year ago, they only had $134 million. And looking at the debt, a year ago, they had $270 million in short-term debt that they were borrowing on their revolver, and they also had $350 million, which was the current portion of their long-term debt, plus the long-term portion of long-term debt of $1.17 billion. That adds up to a little over $1.8 billion in debt, if you add the long-term debt to the amount that they were borrowing on that revolver. Well, now today, long-term debt just sitting at $1.4 billion. They paid off their revolver. They rolled out some of their long-term debt. They also bought back about $90-ish million in long-term debt at a discount, by the way. Now today, they don't owe any money until 2029. The bottom line is cash is up about $500 million and debt is down about $400 million. The net debt today, sitting at about $760 million, is quite reasonable. Now, yes, they have a lot of physical stores, so they have leases associated with those stores, and those show up as liabilities on the balance sheet, but it really is not the same as bank debt. If someone were to come along today and buy out the entire enterprise, meaning buy up all the equity and also pay off all the bank debt, they would only have to pay about $2.4 billion to do that. Given the cash flow generation of this business, I don't think that's an expensive price. By the way, the net debt I was looking at almost a year ago when I bought this, almost $2 billion. So today, they've just made a ton of progress. Also, I said they used some of their cash in this quarter to buy back a bit of their long-term debt. Personally, I think this is an excellent use of capital. I know many shareholders love buybacks. They want companies to buy back their stock. But for Kohl's, I strongly think the best use of their cash is to buy back their debt. Most of their bonds are trading for about 80 to 90 cents on the dollar, so they can buy these for a discount. And that's what they did actually in the fourth quarter when they bought back about $90 million of long-term debt. They bought that back at about 86 cents on the dollar. That's my rough calculation. These bonds are just trading with absolutely ridiculous yields, 9%, 10% effective yields on this. Even though this one here, this bond matures in 2033, so that's when they would have to pay back this debt, and they're only paying 6% interest on it. Because they can buy this back at a discount right now, they're effectively guaranteed to get a 9 to 10% return on their capital if they use it to buy back this bond here. At the same time, a stronger balance sheet that would lower their interest expense, increase their creditworthiness, and probably allow the stock to re-rate. By the way, if you look at any of these bonds, you can see that over the past year, the price of these bonds has gone up a ton. And the flip side of that is that the yield has come down. This is effectively the bond market saying that the risk of default, the risk of, say, bankruptcy or something like that here is decreasing. Now, I don't want to oversell it. A 9 or 10% effective yield, that's still very high, much higher than peers like Best Buy or Dick's Sporting Goods, Macy's even. But this allows for a good use of that cash that they have on their balance sheet. And they say in their capital allocation priorities here, they want to invest in the business, about $350 to $400 million in CapEx. They want to return some cash to shareholders in the form of a dividend. That's, $50 to $60 million a year right now. And then here, reduce debt. Reduce our debt and overall leverage. Well, right now, your debt is cheap. It's trading at a discount. Go out and buy it. And finally, they say share repurchases. Maybe when the stock was under $10 a share, I might have thought that was a better use of capital. But today, just go out and buy up those bonds on the cheap. Also, I should mention the short interest, the short volume on this stock has been incredibly high. Roughly a quarter of the shares here are sold short. Now that has been coming down. When I bought this stock, it's about 50% of the shares were sold short. So over the year, shorts have been covering. That probably led to part of this rally in the stock price. Also, this high short activity probably increases the volatility here. As I said, we had roughly a 30% intraday move here, and the stock is close to flat. Over the past month, about 2/3 of the volume here has been short volume. As you know, I definitely focus on the fundamentals, the cash flow, what's going on with the business. But I think the high short interest here offers potential additional upside. If sentiment shifts and there's a lot of short covering, the stock price can move up quite a bit more than you might think. Now, typically, when I'm trying to come up with a fair price for a business, I like to use my spreadsheet. I usually estimate top line growth and operating margins, free cash flow margin, then I give some terminal multiple, and I come up with an IRR, an annualized return I could expect for this investment. Now, while this works very well for the vast majority of businesses and can give you a very quick idea of risk and reward, there are some limitations here. First of all, what is net debt? Because net debt is going into enterprise value. And that's heavily factoring into this valuation. Does net debt include leases? If it does, you're looking at an enterprise value for this business of about $8 billion. And if it doesn't, if you just think that net debt should include the bank debt, then the enterprise value for this business, again, is only about $2.4 billion. That's what someone would have to come along and pay. Well, that's a massive difference. And you can think about it either way, but I will say, if you want to include the leases in here for net debt, then you better add back in the rent expense into operating income. Right now, operating income here, it's just how it appears on the income statement. It comes after you pay for your leases. But if you want an apples to apples comparison and you want to use an enterprise value that takes into account all these leases, then, well, if you bought the business for that enterprise value, you paid off all of those leases, then there wouldn't be any rent expense. So you should add that back into the operating income. Now, I actually have a much simpler model here. I'm assuming that they can return about $600 million in free cash flow every year for 5 years. That might be optimistic, but I then said this business is going to be entirely worthless 5 years from now. Terminal value 5 years from now, I just set to 0. This is a crude model and it has issues, but you can see with these assumptions, I'm looking at a 25% annualized return on Kohl stock. I will say, back when I bought Kohl stock, this was simply an investment that did not need a spreadsheet. There's sometimes when you go through, you look at the business, you look at the cash flow, and you don't need Excel to see where the risk reward is. At 5 or 6 times what I think is a reasonable measure of cash flow for the business, about $600 million, you're looking at roughly a $30 stock. If you want to look at the tangible book value, if you think that that's a fair measure of the assets that they have, then you're looking at $35-ish a share. Many of the properties on their books, they bought them decades ago. They've been hugely depreciated. The land value has gone up quite a bit over time. For a lot of their stores, I think they're worth quite a bit more than the book value. Alternatively, if you want to think about this another way, if you think Kohl's deserves a similar valuation to Nordstrom, which was bought out just a little bit ago, very similar business, similar revenue, similar model. If Kohl's got a similar offer, you'd be looking at more like $40 a share. So frankly, whichever way I look at it, I still think Kohl's is undervalued. It's not the no-brainer it was when it was in the single digits, but I don't see any reason to sell today. Of course, I wish I sold when we were right about $25 a share a few months ago. I didn't. As I said, I sold calls. I'm almost certainly going to pocket the premium on those. But as far as what I'm doing with my money today, I'm doing nothing. I'm happy to hold. I don't know if the stock is going to go up or down from here, but I think it's pretty cheap. And I think the upside potential significantly outweighs the downside risk. That's just my opinion. It isn't advice to buy this stock. And again, I actually don't think Kohl's is going to be a fit for most investors. If you're looking for growth, great expanding margins, high quality company, this really isn't going to be for you. But if you got value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to join my Discord or grab my Google Sheets template, consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. I have a lot more videos I'm behind on and I want to make. We have to talk about oil and energy. I want to give an update on Elevance and health insurance. So I hope to see you all in another video.